Hello, my name is Cristina Dominguez Ramirez, and I am going to be speaking to you all today about a presentation I recently developed on the use of technology for Sephardi and Mizrahi heritage education and outreach. This presentation is part of the requirements for a practical rabbinics class that I am enrolled in which we are learning about different technologies and platforms that we can use as independent rabbis to promote ourselves, our work, and to connect to the community. Since my area of interest is always in promoting and helping people reconnect to Sephardi and Mizrahi heritage. I thought this would be a good intersection to see the different platforms, websites, organizations, and resources that are available through a number of organizations such as nonprofits, universities, and even independent cultural brokers who package their expertise and then share it online in order to gain business or to have clients. Then you've got colleges, universities that teach a number of classes in Judaic studies or languages such as Ladino or Judeo Arabic, and nonprofit organizations that seek to educate, collect, preserve, and disseminate resources for Sephardim and Mizrahim, as well as people who are interested in learning more about that history, culture, and heritage. So, to get started, I'm using a framework of the idea of planting, growing, and flowering. Basically, like gardening, going to a garden, but the gardening is Sephardi and Mizrahi resources. So, how does one plant, grow, and flower these resources? Well, I looked at Sephardi and Mizrahi focused organizations, in which there are many around the United States, Europe, Latin America, and Israel. The caveat I'm going to include is that my presentation is by no means exhaustive. It is basically some of the more common organizations that came up in my search here or that I've interacted with personally, members of these organizations that I know or have participated in webinars or trainings or activities. And there are more connections to be made, and there are many more organizations that I'm not aware of or that are coming up every day. So this is by no means exhaustive, but it is a nice overview of some of the resources out there. Looked at some universities, academic programs, educational programs, and organizations that do things such as offering cultural content that they record as webinars, whether they be interactive or webinars and online presentations that then are available for playback. And there are synagogues, performers, and individual culture providers or brokers that they themselves are very connected to this heritage and culture, and they are helping other people learn about it. They also make their living from offering their services, whether it's genealogical or through performances. And so they use technology in order to promote themselves and to share these resources. On the left hand side of this slide, I have an image of a metal sign on the ground. It's actually from a street, and it's from a large organization in Spain called Red de Juderias, or a network of Jewish neighborhoods. It is a Spanish-wide or Iberian Peninsula-wide organization that helps connect people interested in learning about Spain's Jewish heritage, history, legacy, and it has partnered with a number of cities that had large populations before the expulsion in 1492 by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, who issued the Alhambra Edict to expel all Jews and Muslims from the Iberian Peninsula. And then it went to Portugal as well. And so we see also similar efforts in Portugal to kind of collect that information. But this Red de Juderias, that's the marker that they use in all the Sephardi identified cities in Spain that one can visit. And the photograph below is a young Mizrahi woman in her traditional clothing. And I chose those images to show that you can go forward and look to the past at the same time. Going forward, Spain has made a huge effort to really help people through the tourism sector and through government agencies to learn more about Spain's Jewish heritage, marking cities, ancient synagogues, ancient mikvaot, um, important historic figures, um, a whole host of structures that are still standing or that have been recovered. And the image below is just kind of looking into the past, not too recent past, and how people have kind of perhaps not a complete idea or vision of Judaism and the Jewish communities, and how the original Jewish communities were Middle Eastern and from um, the Middle East and Mizrahi and Sephardi peoples, and how they look in many ways very different to what is maybe more of a stereotype in the United States of their Ashkenazi counterparts. So the next slide didn't. I lost the image, but I wrote peak planting season, and so to continue with my a metaphor of harvesting, planting, and growing, the peak planting season when you have online resources, digital resources, is all the time. It's 24/7, and that's one of the wonderful things of having your resources disseminated online, is that you don't have to worry about whether your business is closed, whether your organization is closed for the weekend, whether it's out of hours, because people can access those resources all the time, whether it be links or webinars or through other resources that you have put online and people can access just from the comfort of their own home. So, what is the planting cycle? I think the organizations are the plant, the different educational organizations, the universities, the independent cultural providers are the plants. We feed them through the online platform, watering them. We water them through having the links, through having the content be uploaded. And harvesting, that is when we see the fruits of this labor of reaching out to people. And the harvesting is really when people start able to make the connections, reach out to each other, maybe take a class, maybe enroll in a seminar, attend a tour, take a leadership program, learn a language. Any of those things I would consider harvesting. And some of the images that I have here on the left hand side, I have a beautiful Torah scroll inside of an ornate casing. That's a Mizrahi style with the ornate silver work. Below, we have another symbol from the Red de Juderias, and it is a menorah, and those are done in ceramics, and they are also embedded into the cities and the towns and the historical markers to indicate Jewish history in Spain. So let's dive into some of these resources. The first one that I'm mentioning is the Society for Crypto-Judaic Studies. The Society for Crypto-Judaic Studies is probably one of the most well-known resources for Latinos and Hispanics, and I use those terms interchangeably, to study and learn about their Jewish heritage. Why would Latinos and Hispanics want to learn about their Jewish heritage? Well, according to some studies, some genetic studies, about a quarter of all Latinos in the Americas, and that's a lot of people. There are, I don't know, maybe 400, 300 something million native Spanish speakers in 22 countries, have some Jewish ancestry. Most of them, it's hidden. They are not aware of it. Most of them became Catholic over time because the Inquisition started in Spain and then came to the Americas, first in Mexico and then in other countries in Latin America. And eventually, if people were able to maintain some connection to their Jewish heritage, it could have been lost over time by conversion, so that people could survive. So the Society for Crypto-Jewish Studies was founded in 1991. It's a multidisciplinary academic and secular association that fosters networking of ideas, exchange of information amongst scholars and descendants of conversos. Those are the people who converted from Judaism to Catholicism or to another religion, but mostly Catholicism. And it also helps people connect to contemporary research and scholarship on these hidden Jewish communities. They offer an online lecture series in which they have guest speakers come talk about their research. Two recent presentations were the crypto-Judaic view of the biblical Queen Esther, or as some Latinos call her, Santa Esther. And you can already see right there that they were kind of turning her into a saint in order to be able to talk about her without raising the Inquisition's eyebrow. The other recent presentation is the Torah and the Tarot with Stav Apple, and I believe that that was about a French tarot deck that included biblical allusions and imagery in that tarot deck. So they consider themselves a preeminent association dedicated to fostering research and contemporary development of Sephardic crypto Jews. They are located in Texas, but their information is accessible online for people all over the Southwest who are interested in learning more about this. Another large organization is the Latin American Jewish Studies Association, or LAJSA, and that is for people who live throughout Latin America, again, pretty wide range geographically, and are conducting Jewish studies research, are interested in collaboration and exchange of resources. So they maintain contact with one another through an electronic listserv. They also have scholarly conferences, and they have online publications through their Latin American Jewish Studies publication. They do critical reviews, scholarly articles, interviews. Their subscribers and members can help each other with research, with bibliographies, with syllabi, and in order to connect with other experts in Latin American Jewish studies, which is a very large field academically. Some of their resources are online presentations, and they present and record these presentations in Spanish, Portuguese, and English, and they are then presented on YouTube after after the original presentation. Then they are recorded, and so people have access to see them after the fact. I took a screenshot of two of the recent presentations. They have a weekly Simania, which is a lecture that once a week a different Latin American Jewish scholar presents a new book that they've written, an article, something they're working on. And then on the right, you see a book that was presented by Dalia Candiotti and Rita Benmayor, and I put that one specifically because my father and I actually were interviewed by them for their book, which they then presented online. And they have recorded their presentation and their launch of their book online, and it is now a book that is collected and held in libraries across the world. But we were interviewed by them online through Zoom, and then they offered this presentation through Zoom, and now it is on YouTube. So this organization has a number of ways of having people be able to connect to one another. Other online resources include syllabi, scholarly publications, lists of dissertations and theses. And so people who are interested in conducting their own research or collaborating with other researchers or seeing what is in the field can just click on those links. And some of the examples of the Latin American Jewish culture include Screening Citizenship, Jewish Latin American Film, Brazil to Brooklyn, Jewish Cultures of the Americas. And then more concretely, if people want to drill into Sephardic studies, there are syllabi on Literature of Spain of the Three Cultures, or A Cultural History of the Sephardim, or Marranos and Other Heretics, Varieties of Heresy in the Iberian World. So people can really see what are some of the classes that have already been taught, how have they been taught, and what are their bibliographies and resources. A very prominent Mizrahi focused organization is Jimena, Jews Indigenous to the Middle East and North Africa. And they have a mission of basically teaching people about the almost 1 million indigenous Jewish refugees from MENA, or the Middle East and North Africa countries, which include Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Iran. They have information and resources about all of the Jewish refugees that came from those countries and had to leave. Many of them, after the modern state of Israel declared independence, they were many of them stripped of their citizenship from their home countries, even though those communities are some of the most ancient Jewish communities on the planet, and in many cases predate Islam by almost 1,000 years, but had to leave their countries, and many went to Israel, as over 50% of modern Israeli population is of Sephardi and Mizrahi descent. Many also came to the United States, Latin America, and Europe. And so uh, this is an organization which aims to collect those stories, those narratives, but also offer a new way of having a discourse around the modern Jewish experience, how the interconnected geographic linguistic heritage of Jews and Muslims from MENA countries, and also a way to balance out some of the stereotypes or content fomented in the media that Jews are all Eastern European or they're all recent immigrants to the Middle East. This organization aims to show how many of these communities had been in that part of the world continuously for thousands of years. Some of the online resources they offer are Sephardic and Mizrahi lesson plans. You can click on links to see everything from the Holocaust in Jewish communities in wartime North Africa, Jewish refugees from the Middle East and North Africa, and Jews in the Islamic world. Many of these lesson plans, videos are collected in order to, again, bring more knowledge, a deeper understanding of some of these historic phenomenons. In the case of the Holocaust, many people associate it with almost a strictly Eastern European history of Jews that perished in the Holocaust, but I met a colleague through Jimena that I'm is still in touch with to this day, and his specialization is teaching about the Sephardi Jewish communities that were decimated during the Holocaust, including most of the Greek Jewish communities of Rhodes and Salonika. Jimena also offers recorded webinars of presentations they have already done, and many of these also have a religious nature in them, not just politics or culture or geography. As you can see, a Rosh Hashanah Sephardic Seder. Others do have they drill down very specifically, like in the case of Jewish minority rights in Yemen or Jewish Libya human rights advocacy. So they really cover a number of different MENA countries and specific topics that have been recorded that were offered previously to the public in webinars, seminars, or presentations. Jimena also offers an online bibliography, the whole film called Forgotten Refugees, religious supplements like the Mizrahi Shabbat supplement or Rosh Hashanah guide, and they offer, which is very interesting, social media training videos. So for people that are interested in combating anti-Semitism or an incomplete picture through social media, they offer training as well on their website, and they have links for people to learn more about Sephardic and Mizrahi history, and then being able to combat misinformation online. A UK based organization, Mizrahi focused organization, is Harif. the Association of Jews from the MENA, again, Middle East, North Africa. It's a UK charity it's dedicated to promoting the history, culture, and heritage of the Jewish communities that are living in the UK but came from MENA countries. And they also want to showcase the great and rich inheritance that all Jews have received from Mizrahi Jewry, which offered some of created and gave us some of the most brilliant Talmudic minds, some of the greatest rabbis, doctors, philosophers, and the debt that we owe them as Jews today to what they were able to uh, teach, write, translate in their countries, and then also to talk about the modern history and kind of the expulsion of MENA Jews in the second half of the 20th century. Some of their online resources include articles. They have a YouTube channel. They have their own news site, which has called Jewish Refugees from Arab and Muslim Countries Point of No Return. It also links a blog, which is more opinion pieces. But they have links to a number of different articles from other organizations as well. So people, if they take a deeper dive into more of the British lens, the UK lens on the communities there, they can learn about some of the important figures there and their contributions to society. A Latin Jewish focused organization is Jutina. And I learned about Jutina actually during the pandemic. Was a very fruitful time for me to learn a lot about online Jewish resources because we were at home a lot, or we were restricted in what contact we could have with the public. And so I learned about Jutina, which nurtures Latin Jewish community identity, leadership, and resiliency. They offer a leadership training program, which I participated in fully virtually during the pandemic. They have community storytelling, and they also offer multilingual learning resources and workshops. An example, as you can see, their Voces project, which is a podcast series where they interview Latin Jews about their work, their experiences, what they're accomplishing in their communities. And then they have other resources that you can download, Hagim resources, both in English and in Spanish. The leadership program was a great way. It's a cohort type program, and I've met a lot of amazing people that I'm still in contact with 2 years later, and some who I will interview myself for my own podcast series. So I get to meet leaders from around the country, and then they offer resources like the Rosh Hashanah Seder Jutina edition. You can download that through links, and it has the information on one side in English, one in Spanish, that gives a Latin Jewish flavor to recipes, to ritual, to experiences of Latin Jews. Other Sephardic focused organizations are the Sephardic Heritage Museum, which offers online films and archives, lesson plans, and publishing. It is an organization that is a private collection of artifacts, photos, and documents. But if you sign up for an account, then you have access to those online artifacts, photos, and documents, and you're able to then dive into what they have been collecting, what others have been collecting and uploading, and you can make use of their resources for your research or for your reconnecting to your heritage. Another large organization is the Sephardic Jewish Brotherhood of America, or La Hermandad Sefaradi. They are based in New York, but their footprint is all over the United States. They offer the Sephardic Digital Academy. You can study Ladino with instructors. You can study with rabbis online, the Parsha of the week. You can connect to learn about where all the Sephardi synagogues or religious organizations are in the country, where you can go to different events, where you can participate in learning, in activities. It really is kind of a clearinghouse of all things Sephardi around the United States. Sephardic U is their free kind of online community, and you can sign up to get information, news, articles, podcast, everything Sephardi right to your inbox. So you can join thousands of Sephardim around the world who also are interested in this content and information, and you can study religious texts with them. You can learn about holidays. You can learn about important Sephardi rabbis and notable Sephardim in the community. Another organization, which is an online educational initiative, is the ASF Institute of Jewish Experience. And this organization is also another type of clearinghouse that brings together very disparate topics. So you have information, you have lectures, you have conferences, exhibitions, supplements if you're a teacher, an instructor. There are interactive tours, and then there are semester long online courses or MOOCs that you can sign up for. And all of them are rooted in the customs, traditions, history, and experiences of Sephardic Jews. Even though they are all scattered throughout the world, this is an organization in which you can connect to people and study with them, take classes, and learn from one another and share resources from your own communities. Some examples of classes, programs that they've offered is the Crypto Experience. People who are discovering that they have Jewish roots and they want to learn more about their Sephardi heritage. The Persian Experience. And then they also have some programs in Hebrew for Jews living in Israel, Sephardim, Mizrahi, or also just anybody who's interested in learning about this in Hebrew. Kulanu is an international Jewish organization, means all of us in Hebrew, and their focus is on returning and emerging communities. What does that mean? So these are communities that are discovering Judaism for the first time, others that have some kind of connection but want a more formal return or a more formal educational and spiritual relationship with people who can bring them some of that learning and knowledge. And so they do fundraising in order to then be able to buy, say, a Torah scroll for a community, an emerging community in Africa, or they help a Latino community in the Amazon rainforest that is interested in learning about Judaism. And they network, they fundraise, and then they offer a whole host of digital resources and publications to help people interested in these different communities, not just learn about the communities, but also help the communities grow, thrive, and reach their goals. And in some case, the entire community wants to formally convert to Judaism. So they also help with that. Some of their online resources include a photo archive, the Kulano magazine. They have a YouTube channel, online films. They offer resources in Spanish, French, and Portuguese. I'm sure they will add more languages over time as this organization continues to grow and evolve. And for people who are looking to reconnect some of these communities, they offer Hebrew classes to learn about Torah, Talmud, life cycle events. The image on the right is a screenshot of Jeannie Milgrom's latest film that she debuted last fall at the Miami Jewish Film Festival. And now she is showing it around the world. And she is a Cuban American who knew about her Jewish roots, and she spent over a decade researching it and learning. I think went 13 generations back to a small town in Spain. And so now she is their director of Anusim, or Hidden Jews. And so she also now helps other people connect with this heritage. Some of the independent cultural providers that I found were people who focus more on food and genealogy. So Serena Sephardic Cuisine, she focuses on kosher family recipes and how to keep kosher, but through a Sephardic food lens. She has her own app on the App Store. She has her own YouTube channel, her website. You can connect with her through a number of ways. Download her recipes, learn how to have a Sephardi kosher kitchen. And Shelley Dardashti focuses on genealogy. She is one of the preeminent Sephardi genealogers, And she offers webinars, classes, sessions, and she helps people put together family trees and do their own genealogical research, called Legacy Family Tree Webinars. I also found Trio Sephardi, which is a northern-based ensemble. They perform traditional songs of the Sephardim, and they record some of their performances so people can access it. And they also have selected Sephardic resources if people hear their music, are intrigued, and want to learn more about the history and culture of the Sephardim, and to learn more about their activities today and how they try to connect people with that heritage. Sephardi synagogues also have, I found they have varying degrees of online engagement. The Sephardic Kehillah of Boca Raton, they have put, interestingly, a lot of online information for people coming to visit them, newcomers to the community, or people who already live in that part of Florida, to learn to more traditional Judaism. So they tell you, they have the map online of the Eruv. They show you the local kosher restaurants. You can take a virtual tour of their mikvah, and you can connect with the community ahead of going over there, or where you can stay if you are going to the community. So that's kind of a more micro level of using online resources and technology. Sha'arei Orah is a Sephardic congregation in New Jersey, and they link on their website some of the organizations I mentioned before, like Jimena, but they also focus on Sephardic religious resources such as Torah reading online, on the Yerushalmi and Moroccan traditions. They talk about, they have links to learn on Sephardic music and online learning. Sephardic U, which I mentioned a little bit before, through the Sephardic Brotherhood of America, they have a virtual minyan, and it is also on Facebook and X, formerly Twitter. So you can access it that way and study every week with them and learn more about the Sephardic Minhag. Some university programs are the Strom Center for Jewish Studies at the University of Washington. They have an entire Sephardic Studies research center, and they have digitized their Sephardic resources, whether they are cookbooks, postcards, religious materials like ketubot, um, any number of like religious announcements, publications from the synagogues, from the different various generations of the Sephardi community that has been living in Washington. They have their digital studies resources online, everything from cookbooks to how to learn some Ladino, and look at what solitreo is, which is one of the ways that Ladino was written. It's called solitreo, that type of handwriting and script. So they have a lot of number of interesting resources. The Judaic Studies program at the University of Michigan has a very good research guide, and it has it organized by category, so you can access dictionaries in Ladino, bibliographies, journals, newspapers. They have their Sephardic special collections at the University of Michigan. A lot of that information, they have digitized some of those collections, and they have also film and theater, and so you can access a number of things online through them, or contact them for maybe interlibrary loan or more resources. My Jewish Learning is a resource that offers all types. It's like pan Jewish learning, but they do have a very focused section on how to learn Ladino. And it also includes Ladino radio, newspapers in Ladino, movies with Ladino, online forums so you can meet Ladino speakers, and Ladino speaker social groups. So if you're interested in those resources, My Jewish Learning has a plethora of those. Kesher brings people around the country and the world, lectures by local experts on different communities around the world. Everything from the Jews of Budapest to Jews in Uruguay, to the history of the story of the crypto Jews in Mexico. I actually learned a lot about the history of Judaism in Mexico through Kesher. And they record these interactive lectures, and you can access them on through links on Facebook, on their website, and be able to learn about Jewish communities from all over the world. The Hub for Online Jewish Classes and Events offers, it's also another resource that brings together recordings of other organizations. In this case, this one is by Kesher. It's coming up Sunday, March the 3rd. It's the Music and Poetry of the Jews of Iran. It'll be offered through, it's offered through Kesher, and then the Hub will offer it as a recording that you can then explore on demand later. So this is another way of having these recordings from other organizations, and they curate them and then offer them for other people to see down the road. So, coming back to the original topic, the overlying theme here is how the use of technology is making huge positive impacts in connecting Sephardim Mizrahim around the world, connecting communities to one another, being a way for people to reach out to each other, to share their newspapers, their articles, their publications. They're taking online classes. They're using Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, websites, online newspapers. Um, there's a Spanish language site, eSefarad, which is an online repository of articles and news from around the Sephardic world. I keep up with it every day. I learn about things taking place that affect Sephardim around the world, and it's a great resource. It's written, you can access it in English or in Spanish. They also have hundreds of videos on YouTube and thousands of global visitors every day. So that's really a fantastic resource. And the Sephardic Digital Academy, which is a relative newcomer from 2020, offers hundreds of online classes on Sephardic history, culture, and tradition. And Habura is a global Beit Midrash, which has the classical Sephardic approach to Torah study and Judaism. They claim to have participants from 23 countries. So as you can see, these platforms are fairly new, but they're growing rapidly. They're attracting people from around the world. And you can study with rabbis that are focusing on the Sephardic tradition. So that is my presentation. I am going to end because both my dog and cat have decided that they can't be quiet for 40 minutes. So if you have any more links, organization suggestions, please let me know. And this is an evolving and growing, I think, phenomenon and movement, and we will see over time more people creating more resources online and opportunities for people to share them. Thank you.